Well, you can definitely feel it, even though you probably can't see it. There's a war going on right now, and it's a war for your mind. And the weapons that the powers of darkness are using are such things as fear, anxiety, depression, insecurity. And these weapons that are being used are getting people trapped in their minds and bringing about depression and despair. And it's even leading some to consider and even to take the drastic step of committing suicide. These are very unfortunate things that are going on right now, and there are a lot of casualties in this war that we cannot see. But tonight, I've got some very special guests, my friends Jessica and Javier Pons from the band Red Calling, and it is their calling in life to rescue those who are the casualties of this war and are thinking about such things as drastic suicide, and they use music to help bring people out of the throes of war. So stick around because we've got an awesome interview coming right up with Jessica and Javier Pons from Red Calling. Well, welcome to our viewers and our listeners, all of our viewers that are out there on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, as well as Twitch, which I'm still learning about myself right now. And if you're watching us on YouTube Live, go ahead and like us and hit that little bell button so that you can get notification. And I am really excited about part 2 of our Thursday night double shot. I've got my friends, and yes, these are really friends of mine. I just didn't pay them to be on the live stream tonight. Jessica and Javier Pons. And one of the reasons why I really enjoy interviewing them is they are a band that I met in line at a concert in Tampa, Florida. Jess and Javier, welcome to Raven's Heart. How are you? Oh,
let me unmute.
There we go. I got you.
There you go.
You're on. Yeah. How are you guys?
Good, man. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. The last time we talked, I think, Javier, you were out trying to get some toilet paper about a year ago.
Oh man, I remember. That's funny.
Man, a lot has happened since the last time that we spoke. And, you know, there's a lot that's been going on in your lives, and we've been through, I think, the worst of this pandemic thing now. How did the pandemic, we were talking to you at the beginning, how did everything that happened and all the craziness affect you guys both positively and negatively as musicians?
Well, we got a lot of positive things, you know, and we tried to see the positive. We got a lot of negative in the sense that we weren't able to play live, we weren't able to see family. I spent my whole pregnancy without being able to see my, you know, in-laws and friends. So it was kind of crazy, you know. But on the other hand, we were able to promote a lot of our music. We got to places that we never thought that we were going to get, like Europe and South America. And we met a lot of people. We learned a lot of stuff, online stuff, like demographics, you know, doing a lot of promotion. We released a couple of singles. I Had It All and Torture. So it was like a learning experience, you know, and we realized how important the internet is, and we weren't using it the way that we should have before.
Yeah.
So it was positive in that, and we were in a bunch of online festivals, and we got a great feedback from those.
So really the landscape of music changed for you guys, and you probably learned pretty quickly how to use the internet to leverage that and get things out. And I remember you released I Had It All back in April of 2020,
Yeah.
was it? Just
Yeah.
just right
before.
yeah.
Oh wait, right at the beginning.
Right after,
Yeah, right after.
March,
Yeah, right after the pandemic started. And this is something that I'm trying to learn to get better at myself is I'll always interview these bands and they're like, "Oh, hey, we got a new release coming out in like a month." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I didn't time that so good." But we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at I Had It All this evening and take a look at some of your other music as well. Also, too, Jessica, you just mentioned you have a new band member in the house. What instrument does she play? And how has having a baby changed your worldview as musicians?
Well, she plays guitar, and she plays the guitar you gave her. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
By the way, man, she loves that thing. She loves it so much. That's like one of her top 3 toys.
All right.
For those who are listening, he sent a really nice gift to my baby.
Yeah, it's like a little electric guitar.
It was a little electric guitar, and it was awesome. She loved it. And how it affected me, well, yeah, it changed my life totally. All I can say is, well, the only downside, the only negative is like I'm a little sleep deprived, but I love being a mom, and I enjoy all kinds of music. I even enjoy children's music, So it helped me grow as a musician, and it gave me a totally new perspective in life. Having a child is a beautiful experience.
So here's another question concerning the new band member. What is her favorite band? Is it Red Calling, I hope?
No. I think it's Coco Melon. Is that little baby? It's like a cartoon.
Oh, okay. Okay. Something like the Wiggles or something like that, right?
Man, I never thought I would hate Baby Shark so much. It's like that thing plays in the house and that keeps playing in my head like for a whole week.
I think there's a metal version of that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was fun. Oh man, you gave me a good idea. I'm gonna play that for her tonight.
There you go, the metal version of Baby Shark.
Yeah,
she can rock out on her guitar with that.
And you know what? That's funny because I heard that version even before she was born. Like right when the song came out, somebody posted on Facebook like metal version of Baby Shark. I was like, I gotta check it out, and it sounds good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. I'm pretty down with it myself. I mean, not as much as I am with Red Calling, of course, but I mean, if I had to, I'm glad those days are kind of over for me with Blue's Clues, Sesame Street, and everything like that. So, but enjoy it now while she's growing up, and you're going to look back and there'll be fond memories, really fond memories.
I know.
Yep, absolutely.
Time flies. It's crazy.
It does. It really does fly. Speaking of time flying, I'd like to talk about your song and your video, I Had It All, that you released last April. Can you tell us what this song is about?
Yeah, it's about, if you watch the video, you can see at the end there's a scene where we hold this piece of paper that shows each one's like issues, insecurity, depression, anxiety, and it has to do, this song's about all those things that keep us from fighting for those things that matter. And these things are what I just mentioned, like anxiety and fear and depression that don't let you appreciate what you have in your life. And sometimes it paralyzes you. So that's why it's called I Had It All, because sometimes you lose things and you don't realize how important they were until you lose them, And it was, we released the video, it was April 27th, and we got a really good feedback from that. We were supposed to have a bunch of shows and promote that single, but we had to do everything online. And it was really, we got a great feedback with that song.
That's a really interesting perspective. I had not thought about that, how those things such as fear, anxiety, and depression, all those weapons of darkness really steal from you. They steal your joy in life.
Yeah. And by the way, those are things that we actually deal with, like like you see me holding fear, and then Devin holding anxiety. Those are things like we all pick what we struggle with every day.
Yeah.
We try to be a positive band, but I mean, even positive bands, we deal with that stuff every day, especially now after COVID. I think a lot of that struggle was very real.
Yeah, it was very intentional. It was very intentional. When we actually had a meeting Okay, so what are you gonna hold? What piece of paper? What piece of paper? Let's bring our issues and let's talk about it and let's just put it there, out there.
You know, Javier, you said something very interesting about positive. I think people have this misconception of what positive is, that it's all rainbows and unicorns all the time.
No, it's not.
It's not. Positive a lot of times is dealing with the issues head on that you're facing. That's a positive thing to do. It's not all just, hey, everybody, the world's a great place. You know, it's not like an episode of the Teletubbies. It's, you know, dealing with those particular issues, and that you guys were vulnerable enough to write out the things that you deal with. That is really positive, and that somebody who's watching that video, it's like, oh, wait a minute, these guys who can really melt my face off, they deal with the same issues that I deal with. And I think that's so important, because I think a lot of times people think, oh, well, they're musicians, so, you know, and look, they're doing really cool videos and they got all this cool music. They probably don't deal with what I deal with, but everybody deals with those mental struggles in their mind.
Absolutely, man.
Every and each human being.
Yeah, and man,
perfect, yeah.
You got all these positive bands out there, and you know, I'm not gonna call names, but I mean they write music from like a higher place, and I'm like, no, man, like we're dealing with the same stuff. Like we don't come from a higher place, telling anybody how, like, we're just telling people, we struggle too, man. Like that's what's up. Like we deal with those things too.
Absolutely. You know, and it's really important not to write it from that higher place, because when you write it from that place of, hey, we struggle with this too, it's really that place of humility. And that's where the power is in the absolute humility and being humble in it, saying, hey, we're just different. You know, that's really what it comes down to. Different giftings. Just because, you know, somebody can do something good doesn't mean that they're better than somebody else. It just means that they're good at that, and they're different and they're unique. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And there's all this competition in the world. It's like, well, you know, I'm good at this, and, you know, everybody else sucks. And that's where you get into bullying and everything like that that's going on in the world. But just being in that place of absolute humility. What I'd like to do is share with our viewers and our listeners the video for I Had It All, because this thing rocks. And for those of you that are watching right now, go ahead and leave your comments and we'll talk about it. And if you have any questions for Jessica and Javier, also, if you're struggling with anxiety, fear, depression, these are people to talk to, because they have their feet on the ground with this stuff. So this is I Had It All by Red Calling. Check this out. And if your face is not melted off, there's something not right with you. man, epic. That is amazing, guys. Hey, and we
Thank
got
you.
a comment from Christopher Shelton. He is from the Last Trumpet in North Carolina. Like it already. Man, bands you're having on lately are high level. You guys are a high level band.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You know,
Christopher.
and it just blows my mind. I do have to give a bit of the backstory, the way that we met, because it was just, you know, God's providence is the way that I can describe it.
It was random, very random, and
I was down in Tampa, Florida, at the Orpheum Theater, the same place where I met Armor of God several years ago, and I'm standing in line waiting for a not Hammerfall, but Amorphis. It was Amorphis, Annika, and Delane. Yeah, Amorphis, Annika, and Delane. And I was doing interviews for the podcast that we were doing at the time, and I started asking questions, and Jess and Javier were like, "Hey, we got a band too," and they gave me one of their cards. I was like, all right, yeah, we'll see where this goes. And that night when I got to the hotel room, I started checking out the videos. I was like, that's who I was in line next to. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
He was great. He was great. We had a great time.
it was a great show too. Yeah, that was a good concert, man.
Yeah.
That was, you know, and I have to go back to that concert a little bit because there was so much going on there. We didn't realize it at the time, but that was the next to last ever performance of Delane in the United States when we went to that show.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Because they just broke up. And my wife, Deb, who does not like death metal, loved Amorphis so much she bought the t-shirt. So just awesome show. And it was so neat to be able to meet you guys. Got a couple questions for you. Here's the $64,000 question. Who's the pyro that set all the instruments on fire in that video? What's up with that?
Oh man, there's a funny story behind that. Man, all right, so bass player, he had the idea, hey, why don't we set the instruments on fire? And we're like, all right, fine, we're down. We couldn't get the fire going. Like, we tried everything. Like, we tried paper, we tried a bunch of like chemicals we had at the studio. Then we were about to give up. He's like, hey, I have a bottle of deodorant in my car, like those Axe deodorants. And then we sprayed everything. But then you got a little out of hand. Like, we put too much on them. So now we're putting water in the instruments on the places we didn't want fire in. So yeah.
Crazy, I know.
Yeah, like her mic, I was like, all right, I just want the stand to have fire, but not the actual mic. Let's put water in the mic so the fire won't get.
So the key to pyrotechnics here was the Axe body spray, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, this is at 3 a.m. Like, I'm surprised we didn't get shut down.
Hey, we've got a new viewer with us, Jermaine Nixon from the band Tricord from Jessup, Georgia. He says, what's up, guys? Jermaine, thanks for joining the show. We are melting people's faces off tonight with my friends from Florida, Red Calling. You know, I want to ask you this question because you guys have a really good Christopher says, LOL, that's awesome how you guys set fire. So, guys, remember this. Not only can Axe body spray attract chicks, you can use it to set things on fire. And no, Axe body spray has not sponsored this show this evening. No. But you guys have a really good, you've got your thumb on the pulse of the human condition, especially with the mind. And Jermaine says, sorry, I'm late, working my tail off. Hey, thanks for letting us join you at work and after work as well. Thank you, Jermaine. It's always good to have you. It's good to have all of our viewers and listeners with us this evening. So what do you think it is? What's going on in the world from your perspective that's causing an increase in anxiety and depression and insecurity? What are the things that are contributing to these factors from what you're seeing, especially now being parents, because you're aware of a lot more things now than even before becoming parents?
Yeah, that's funny because we were just talking about I had it all, about those things that keep us from fighting and security and all that, and that was written before the pandemic. Then the pandemic hit, and it's funny because then we wrote Torture, which is like a natural step, you know, still dealing with those things, still dealing with anxiety, like in a higher, like amplified level, you know, because of the pandemic. and being parents and all that. So Torture is about like, which is our new single and new video. It's about finding that calming voice, that special relationship that can, stop that torture in your head. So I think answering your question, the pandemic is a big thing. We're all tired about, we've been talking about this for over a year, but all these things, mental health issues is like a second pandemic. And it's been pretty tough for a lot of people, especially those that live by themselves, that have no family, no friends. And, it's just a really tough time, but there's always a way out. Torture was a way for us to cope with this and to let our fans know and people and friends that there's always a way out.
Yeah. It's I think the world has conditioned people to react to the way that they're reacting to things. I saw something on TV the other night. I watch a lot of Simpsons. I have to admit it. It's one of my favorite TV shows. And they showed the episode with the tainted Krusty Burgers where people ate the tainted Krusty Burgers and the world turned into zombies, and everybody's freaking out. And then Bart eats the tainted Krusty Burger. But all of that stuff, when we hear the word pandemic, because Javier, we were talking about this when the pandemic started, when people were running to get toilet paper off the shelves. It's like, what? It's like, what in the world? I am always ready with props here at Raven's Heart. I mean, if anybody wants us, email me, Glenn email me at lithoscry, LITHOSCRY @gmail.com, and I will send you some official Raven's Heart toilet paper. But people are conditioned to think that way. And then you take a look at all the Hollywood movies of the, I Am Legend, when the virus breaks out and everybody turns into zombies. So when you hear the word pandemic, people already start freaking out. They're like, oh no, this is the end of the world. It's the apocalypse. And I remember when we were doing just the audio podcast at the time that we were having to calm people down. It's like, no, this is not, there's a lot more things that have to happen before we get to the end. And people, they just get that excited, and then it turns into a group think. Wouldn't you think that has something to do with people getting all worked up as a group think of, well, if somebody's doing this, then I got to do it too?
I think there was a lot of misinformation, and I don't blame anyone. I mean, we had never seen something like that, but I think that moving forward, a lot of people will try to get more informed when something like this happens. I mean, hopefully nothing like this happens again, but now I think that people are not going to panic as much because look what happens. The virus is very real, and we had to quarantine, but at the end of the day, a lot of stuff there was a lot of misinformation.
But now you see, if you check the news, they're saying that there is a possibility that it came from a Wuhan lab. So you're like, okay, so we're moving to a total new dimension. It's like, okay, what's wrong? What's going on? So it's like you never know because that's a different level. You're not on the politics. You don't deal with that. That's a different level. We're not in that dimension. So what I do is I just live my life the best way I can. You're not gonna know the truth because it's horrible, And as Javier said, there's a lot of misinformation. Now there's stuff coming out that's it's creepier because if it's for real, like a man-made virus and it was made in a lab and it's like a biological weapon or whatever, you're not gonna be happy. Just it's good to be to stay informed, but on the other hand, just try to keep your life, live your life the most, and do good, and that's the way I live, honestly, because you can get totally crazy with it.
That's a really healthy perspective. There are two things that I want to highlight that you said that I really think it's important for our listeners and our viewers to cue in on. Is first of all, before you panic, get all of the information first.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, Javier, when the pandemic broke out, we really didn't know what we were dealing with. And It's not that there was all this purposeful misinformation. It's like you don't know what you don't know. You can only guess based upon projections, models, and things that you saw before in the past. The second thing is living and being responsible for your life.
Correct.
And responsible, I would say, for our viewers and our listeners, be responsible for what God's called you to do and focus on that, and don't become overwhelmed with the rest of the world, because like what our friends from Red Calling did, there was a pandemic, it changed things, but it didn't stop them from doing what they were being called to do. They were still releasing music. And Jermaine wants to weigh in here. He says, that's good stuff. Guys, that is good stuff. That's why I love these conversations. This is why I love the community of what we're doing, is we can talk through these issues. And he also says, excited to hear from you, Red Calling. I think you got a new fan in Jermaine. You're going to have to check out his band, Tricord. They rock.
Man, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
They're really good. So, get the facts before we start to panic. That's like just a couple weeks ago, we had the gas crisis up here. You guys probably had that too. Yeah. And people were in the stores hoarding toilet paper and goods again. It's like, what's the toilet paper going to do you during a gas crisis? Just calm down, people. It's going to be okay. And it's very important to remember that. And all of those things, the anxiety, the fear, the depression, it does lead to the torture in your mind. And I want to share this video, especially for Jermaine, who is just tuned in right now, to see how you guys can melt people's faces off really, really well. This is the latest Red Calling song entitled Torture. And before we do that, Jermaine says, so true. Have to use wisdom. Holy Spirit guides us through every situation. Absolutely. It's using wisdom, and we're going to talk more about that. And he says, yay, because he's waiting to hear some massive music from Red Calling. This is Torture.
Something burns inside.
Wow. That is totally Mac the Metal Dog approved for our viewers and our listeners who've been with us for a while.
That's
My
funny.
my blind Boston Terrier who spends most of his time snoring and farting in the studio, listening to music. He totally approves of Red Calling. Guys, that is absolutely amazing what you got going on there with that. We got some comments I want to roll through here. We got Jermaine Nixon, that rift and minor key with a lot of flames there. Awesome. He also says, yes, so raw. I love this. I told you we got a new fan
Thank
here
you.
for you.
Yeah.
He is totally down with that's a lot of emojis and hieroglyphics. I can't read emoji that well, but you guys are so sick. He loves it. You know, I've got to say this, and Jess, I shared this with you a couple weeks ago when we were prepping for this over the phone. I've always been a very big Lacuna Coil fan. Hey, and there's Debbie Remsen. Look at that. We know Debbie. She says, love it. So
Yeah.
how
Thank you, Debbie.
exciting. I've always been a very big Lacuna Coil fan, and I have to put this music up there with the quality of excellence that you hear from a band
Wow, thank you.
like
Thank you.
Lacuna Coil.
Man,
What you
what
guys
I'm talking
are
about, man.
doing-
We love Lacuna Coil, man.
Just awesome
They're
stuff.
amazing. They're actually one of the best bands I've seen live.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, they are really good. I've had the opportunity to see them several times, and every time I saw them, it never disappointed me when I saw them
Yeah.
live. But the quality of the vocals, the instrumentation, everything in both of those songs that we just played tonight is just so tight. I mean, it's just right there. There's an ambience that just flows through everything that you're singing and that you're doing. I can understand very clearly what you're doing, and I love the visuals in the background of that video, especially with the skull. And that's something I want to talk about for a minute is the skull. We talked about this in our early edition with Monica Silly from Aseity, who we talked to at the 7:00 hour, is that the skull is really the major place of the battle. You know, it's in your mind with your thoughts.
Right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there it is right there. Hey, and, awesome, the skull. And I've got my Raven and skull right here that's on
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
That's sick.
on the studio desk. And I want to remind people something about this because unfortunately the skull got stolen by the devil. Of course, like everything else gets stolen. The skull is probably one of the most important symbols in Christianity, in the Christian faith, because it was at the place of the skull, Golgotha, also known as Calvary,
That's
where
exactly
Jesus
right.
was crucified and the battle for the mind was won. Remember that. And, you know, I want to be funny here for a second because, you know, we hear of all of these churches, you know, Calvary Church and Calvary Baptist, all nice names. But you know what? I'm going to open up my own and call it Skull Baptist Church. What do you think about that?
God.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I love that.
We'll have Red Calling lead worship on Sunday morning. But that's the truth of it is it all starts in the skull. And when Jesus and John the Baptist, when they were saying, hey, repent, you know, you need to repent. It means change your mind. You got to change your mind about things because the heart follows the mind. You know, if you're all caught up in all these things in your mind, your heart's going to go crazy. And Christopher Shelton likes the idea of Skull Baptist Church. He says that's headbangtacular. That's a new one. You heard it right here on Raven's
That's
Heart this
funny.
evening from Christopher Shelton. That is headbangtacular.
Yeah.
You're singing a lot about your emotions going down the drain. Can you share with us from your experience and when you were writing this song, how emotion just can really misguide you? Can you provide us with some insight into that a little bit?
Sure. Well, we were just talking about that. The fear and anxiety, you know, paralyzing you and keeping you from doing stuff that matters. And when they go down the drain, it's because you finally found something, you know, that helped you, that voice, that calming voice, that special relationship, and you finally get to be free and start thinking straight and start, you know, to be really aware of the things that matter.
Yeah. You gotta protect the mind, man.
Yeah, that's as you say, it's a battlefield. Everything goes there, and you just have to worry and be concerned about the stuff that you can't control. As I was saying earlier, all those politics and whatever is going on in the world, you cannot control that, and it's impossible to be happy if you focus on that. So you just worry about the things you can control and be excellent at the things you can do.
Yeah, man. I saw this interview that they did with Chester Bennington before he committed suicide.
Yeah.
Man, and it's kind of sad and creepy. He was telling the guy that he was doing the interview with, he's like, hey man, like I do music because my mind is a dangerous place. He was telling like, hey man, my mind is my head is a dangerous neighborhood. And man, it's true, man. Like yeah, like this can be a very bad neighborhood.
Yeah, that's why he's sad, and it's really sad.
Dude, man, like people protect their money, they protect their assets, they protect their jobs. Man, you gotta protect the mind. Yeah. Even me, man, like personally, man, I'm open about it. That's the things I personally struggle with. Yeah. Just keeping up a positive mindset. And to me, like Chester Bennington's death was one of the saddest, because he was one of my favorite musicians ever, man.
Talented guy.
But now his interviews start to make sense. Like he was like telling people, hey man, there's something going on with my mind. Like my mind's a very, very dangerous place right now.
Yeah. He was very open about it.
Yeah. And people people took those words for granted, and now all we can do is learn from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe a lot of people took it for granted because he was so successful, and you don't think about somebody like that really struggling, mentally, because I mean, everything was going so well for him. And it just goes to show that even though things may look good on the outside, they might not be going so well on the inside. And that's why it's so important that we have community with other people. Yeah. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. With the pandemic, with everybody being isolated and shut in, when you really don't have anybody to interact with. I mean, internet's great, and I love this medium, but it'd be even better if you were right here in the studio with me. There'd be
definitely. Yeah.
A whole different level of interaction. I think there's something that goes on. And Jermaine says, for Jermaine, Chester was a hero of his as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
He even had a beautiful family. I mean, he had it all. That's exactly what I Had It All is about,
Yeah, man. One of his last photos, dude, it was him laughing at I think it was at the beach, right? Yes. Like his last photos, he was laughing. So you never know, man. So anybody listening, if you got somebody that has those little like signs, just be like, hey man, are you okay? Or try to reach out to that person.
Yeah, and if it's you, just get help, or you can even reach us if you want to talk to us. We're all over social media, but you just reach for someone, because there's a way. There's always a way out.
Yeah. How can somebody get in touch with you guys if they're struggling through things, or they know that somebody's struggling through things? Because I mean, you guys have a real heart for this. This is the purpose, what drives your music, and I want to give people the opportunity to reach out to you if they do need help. How can somebody reach out to you guys if they need help?
Sure, you can send an email. It's redcalling@live.com, or you can just go to our page on Facebook and send a direct message.
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Yeah. We're all over the place.
Yeah, just send a private message, and we'll definitely talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't deal with any of this. She deals with that.
all the tech stuff there and everything like that. And it's so important not to base your decisions upon emotion. Because emotion is fickle. And a lot of times, God gave us emotion so that we can sense and enjoy the world around us. But like everything else, it gets twisted and perverted and, turned into this very dark thing. And something you mentioned earlier, Jess, was using wisdom in things and being wise. And we talked about that earlier. And, Red Calling is at a really cool place. You guys are, cranking out some awesome music, awesome videos. I consider Red Calling a successful band, and you haven't based that upon emotion. Because I'm sure there's some days like this isn't working and I just want to quit,
Oh
but you
no,
haven't,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but you've used wisdom. How have you separated wisdom out from emotion in the way that you guys make decisions?
We flip a coin. So it's like, go to Las Vegas and spend all my money, or do something useful and productive.
That's a good one. I think it's more like about discipline. You know, sometimes you guys do stuff and emotions catch up with that later on, you know. And once you're disciplined and you focus on something, you know, as you just say, sometimes you wake up and you don't even want to open your eyes. You don't even want to, you know, stand and work and do whatever. But God gives you that, you know, motivation and that strength, and sometimes you just keep doing your stuff, even though if you're depressed or whatever, and then emotions catch up later. You know, it's just about, you know, being disciplined, I
I
guess.
like I like that discipline, and I'd like to add something to that because most of the problems that I've had in my life, most of the messes I've gotten in, is because I've based things off of emotion,
Oh
and
yeah.
a lot of those emotions have been hasty
Hmm.
emotions. I was like, oh, I got to do this now, and I never exercised patience, and patience is key. That's
Hmm.
part of that discipline I think that you're talking about there, Jess.
Yeah.
And Jermaine says rock paper scissors always solves problems. LOL. So if it's not a coin toss like Javier said, do what Jermaine does: rock paper scissors. Guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me this evening. What's next on the horizon for Red Calling? Do we have any new music, any new videos coming out?
Yeah, we're actually gonna be recording a few more songs soon, just to complete an EP. So that'll be out soon, and we just started taking shows again, and you know, we cannot wait to go out and start playing live.
Yeah, our first show after the pandemic is August 14th. It'll be at the Haven in Orlando.
Yeah,
It'll be a great show because it's a Woman Who Rock Festival. So there's a bunch of female fronted bands from Central Florida, and it's going to be awesome. Can't wait for that.
That is one of my favorite venues, the Haven.
The Haven, yeah, it's a
yeah,
great
I
venue.
love I
Yeah,
love the Haven. You know, the name is so appropriate for that place because it's so peaceful there. Everybody's friendly.
yeah,
Great venue. I got to
yeah,
see
it is.
Seven Kingdoms there several years ago. Christopher Shelton's weighing in. He says you guys are solid musically and spiritually.
thank you,
And
Christopher.
Thank you.
Jermaine says, so excited, pumped up to hear what you guys have coming out, next. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening. With me is my friends Javier and Jess from Red Calling. They are a rocking band out of Florida, but they rock for a purpose, and they are here to help people that are struggling mentally. We've been talking all through this edition about the war for the mind, depression, anxiety. These are all things that people struggle with. Thoughts of suicide, wanting to commit suicide, actually doing it. This is real stuff. It's to be taken seriously. And Jessica and Javier do so. And you know what? If you're struggling with anything mentally, you can reach out to them and they are here
Please
to
do.
help you.
Yeah.
And their music, man, if you just need to take a mental break, their music will help you process through those emotions. That's one of the beautiful things about music is it brings healing. My wife was
Yeah.
reading today about how, you know, singing music and good music can bring about physical healing. And that's something that I
Mhm.
experienced in my own life as I was recovering from a brain tumor. But it also can bring about mental healing. And if you need mental healing, I highly recommend the music of Red Calling. Very good music, and it'll help you process through those things that you're processing through. Guys, do you have anything else that you'd like to share with us before we close out the evening? This has been a blast.
Yeah, just thank you. Well, we'd like to thank you for having us, for, you know, opening this little window for us and letting us share our music and our thoughts. And just stay tuned. We'll be releasing a new EP by the end of this year. It'll be a 5 song EP, and we'll be working on new material, new videos too. So thank you, and just try to stay positive, and even if you need to talk to someone, once again, you can reach us. And thank you. Len.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us, man.
Oh, thank you.
It's always fun.
It is. It is. Oh, we got Sam here. Great band, great people. Blessed from Sam Rosie Condi. So thank you, Sam. Thank you for weighing in. Hey, if you're watching us on YouTube Live, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button as well as the little bell so that you can check out more music like Red Calling. We've got a lot more bands that we're going to be interviewing over the next several months. But I want to talk about something, and I think you guys might be interested in this as well. Next Thursday at 7 p.m., we are switching gears a little bit. We're going to hit some heavy theology and talk about demons, angels, aliens, all the things that people are kind of afraid to talk about. And we've got a special guest. He's a Bible scholar. His name is Dr. Michael Heiser. He has agreed to come on Raven's Heart because we're very unique, and he is going to talk about all those things, the verses that pastors skip because they can't answer the questions about it.
Man.
So if you got questions about angels, demons, aliens, and even things called other gods in the Bible, he's going to talk about all that stuff. All the stuff that's in great heavy metal music, we're going to talk about. I mean, it's going to be awesome, you know?
Yeah. Supernatural stuff.
Yes, we're going to be talking about supernatural stuff and a lot of it. And we are actually, I'm going to be asking him questions about some of the things in some music from bands such as Nightwish and Beyond the Black. So he's going to answer those questions from a biblical perspective from us. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys can just hold on while I close everything out. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. with Dr. Michael Heiser. And until then, everybody, peace out and rock on.
Lithoscry.com